6. So is the gang all here?
Rick was coming.
Rick's here.
Oh, okay.
He's blending into the wall.
How you doing, Barb?
I'm good.
Good.
Okay, well, it is 1:30 on March the 24th, so I will bring the meeting of the MPC to, I'll open it, I guess. We have an agenda before us. Are there any additions or deletions to the agenda? No. All righty. Pre-circulated the minutes of the February 27th meeting. Are there any errors, omissions, concerns to do with that? Oh, I should probably have a motion to accept the agenda.
So moved.
Okay, motion's been made to adopt the agenda as presented. All those in favor? That is carried. Now we'll move on to the minutes. Councillor, Commission Member Christie.
I'll move the minutes as presented.
Okay. Got a motion to move the minutes as presented. All those in favor? And that is carried. We don't have any business arising from the previous minutes. We'll move on to new business. Number 1, 3417-20-D, Kneehill County. Who's taking this? Obviously, it must be Brandy.
Me. All right.
We're going to turn this one down.
Sure.
Kneehill County.
Well, who the hell puts it on the road allowance?
I bring for you 3817-20-D for Kneehill County, which is at Keevers Lake Campground. It's to consider a change in use for the chalet accessory building from an existing office to a retail store at the Keevers Lake Campground. The chalet was originally placed at Keevers Lake in 2009 for the purpose of an office for patrons to check in and for the attendants to do their clerical duties. The attendants for the 2020 season would like to run a retail store for the sale of camping goods and household goods and some local artisan work for purchase. When the chalet was originally placed, it was placed in the road right-of-way. Kneehill County administration is currently addressing this issue, and a road closure application will be presented to council in the near future. The property is located approximately 1 mile south of Highway 583 on Range Road 260, just west of Three Hills. The chalet building is sitting directly in the undeveloped right-of-way. This allows for easy access for patrons to identify where to turn into the campground. The surrounding properties are primarily agricultural uses. Currently, the property is zoned agricultural district. However, this property has been flagged for redesignation to the recreation district with the updates to the land use bylaw. A public hearing will be held at that time. The property is adjacent to the Sunny Slope water line, and a riser was placed at this location when the line was installed in 2011. Setbacks from the property line are not satisfied, as the current structure is placed in the undeveloped right-of-way. This application was referred out to internal and external agencies and adjacent property owners. Alberta Health Services responded with a minor concern. With the opening of a store at the campground, the owner and agent will need to apply to Alberta Health Services for a food permit. Other than that, no other comments have been received. I will go over the picture. So there is the building sitting directly in the road right-of-way. And you can see that it is directly off the road. And there's the beautiful chalet. And that is it for pictures.
Well, thank you. Options and recommendations?
The options are 4.1, that the Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit 381720D for the change in use from a campground attendant office to a retail store on Northeast 253126, zoned agricultural with the conditions. Or 4.2, postpone the application pending further information. It is our recommendation that the Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application 381720D for the change in use from a campground attendant office to a retail store on the Northeast 253126 that is zoned agriculture with the following conditions. Number one, the permit is being issued under Section 86 of the Land Use Bylaw 1773. The development must conform to the application and site plan submitted to the county, signed and dated February 5th, 2020, as attached to this approval. All structural changes will require the necessary development and safety codes, permits, and approvals. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with utility companies for provision of services and/or necessary easements and ensuring all development is outside the active utility right-of-ways. Approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicant to obtain any and all permits as may be necessary under this or any other legislation, bylaws, or regulations. Number 5, the developer must comply with the Alberta food regulations, the Alberta nuisance and general sanitation regulations as per Alberta Health Services. Number 6, this permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or on the date of an approved decision of the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. If at the expiry of this period, the development, construction, or use has not been commenced or carried out with reasonable diligence in accordance with the application submitted, the permit shall be invalid. And lastly, number 7, failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void.
Thank you, Brandy. Are there any questions for the planner from the board? Okay. Anyone willing to, council member, or no, commission member, Vickery.
Boy, he's doing the right words today. Yes, Mr. Chairman, I'll move file number 3817-20-D with the following recommendations that were put in place.
Okay, motion's been made to proceed or to move with conditions as per the recommendations. Are there any discussion to that motion? Seeing as none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Thank you. Ooh. We will move on to number 2, 3818-20-D. Oh, Deanna, you're taking this one?
You betcha.
All right, anytime you're ready.
Okay, this is an application from Al Gore for a second residence and a manufactured home over 20 years of age on the southeast of 233225 west of the 4th. Second dwellings are discretionary use on parcels equal to or greater than 20 acres and thus require the MPC approval. The age of the manufactured home also requires this application to be approved by MPC. The proposed residence is a mobile home manufactured in 1995. It will be placed west of the existing residence, but would be considered within the yard site. Setbacks from property lines are required as per the site plan. A rural address will be required for the new residence. The parcels access via a paved road, which is commonly known as the Gore Road, Range Road 25-1. The parcel is adjacent to the Sunny Slope water line, and the applicants wish to tie into the existing water system. This parcel of land is not within an ESA or considered a significant historical site. The surrounding properties are zoned agricultural. This application was referred to internal and external agencies and adjacent landowners, and to date, no objections have been received.
And I take it we have some pictures? Yes, we do.
Yep. So this is the proposed mobile home will just go west of the yard site there, kind of north of the bins. And that's where it will sit. And there is, I don't know at what point in time, services are already there. So I don't know if a long time ago there was another residence there, but anyways, it won't be hard for them to place it. And this is the photos of the house that they're purchasing. Which for the age, it's in really good shape.
Okay. Are there any questions from the board? Commission Member King.
So my assumption is they're going to be accessing through the south access, the one that goes to the bin yard?
Yes.
And that's where the resident sign would be placed as well?
Yes.
So, yeah, to the bottom of the picture.
Yeah, and that is one of the conditions, is the rural address sign. So what we do is we send this, once we get the application and they've paid the fee, then we'll send this to Jeff and he'll figure out what the location and what the number, the address will be.
Yep.
Commission members have any other questions for the planner? Commission member Christie.
I guess my question would be, there's an oil right-of-way access that goes through that yard, so that would have to be addressed too, or not?
That we didn't receive any comments from them.
Okay, any other questions? If not, maybe we can go on to, did you have one? Commission member Christie? Oh, sorry. Must have been my eyes going bad again. Okay, so options and recommendations, I guess.
Okay, so your options are either approving it or postponing the application. Administration is requesting approval of development permit application 318-20-D for a second residence and a housing manufactured type 2 over 20 years of age on the southeast of 233224 with the following conditions. This permit is being issued pursuant to section 59 and 86 of Land Use Bylaw 1773. The development must conform to the site plan that was submitted with the application, signed and dated March 26 as attached to this approval, which that'll be changed to today's date. The developer and applicant must apply for a rural address sign at the fee set out in the master rate bylaw prior to or at the time of application for a building permit. The assigned rural address will be mounted at a location on the subject property to the satisfaction of Kneehill County. The applicant shall provide to Kneehill County Planning Department the manufacturer, model, year, CSA number, and an image of the housing manufactured type 2 mobile home. All relevant safety code permits must be obtained prior to any work being performed on site. The location of the proposed development must meet the minimum distance requirements from the existing sewage system as set out in the Alberta Private Sewage Disposal Regulations. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with the utility companies for provision of services and/or necessary easements and ensuring all development is outside active utility right-of-ways. The design, siting, external finish, and architectural appearance of the housing shall be to the satisfaction of the development authority and must be CSA approved. The home must have a permanent foundation capable of supporting the maximum anticipated load of the home during all seasons without settlement. The undercarriage of the housing manufactured type 2 shall be completely screened from view by skirting within 60 days of placement of the unit. All accessory structures such as steps, patios, porches, additions, skirting, and storage facilities shall be factory prefabricated or of a quality equivalent thereto, so that the construction will be complement to the housing manufactured type 2. All housing manufactured type 2 units shall be provided with steps and landings to all entrances within 30 days of placement. All future additions and developments, including but not limited to decks, will require development permits and relevant safety codes. Approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all other permits as may be necessary. This permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or the date of an approved decision of the SDAB, and failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions, comments, concerns? Commission member Christie.
I'll make the motion to approve development permit application 3818-20-D for a second residence of a housing manufactured type 2 over 20 years on the southeast of 233225 west of the port with the conditions attached.
Thank you. Motion's been made. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Alrighty, we will now move on to 3819-20-D. Deanna, you're taking this one?
Yep.
Alrighty.
This is an application from Belina and Carlton Pope on the northwest of 153125 west of the 4th for a commercial kennel addition. This application has been submitted to build a 1,056 square foot addition to an existing kennel. The landowners also plan to renovate the existing building to accommodate more pens and an indoor play space. A commercial kennel is defined as a use which may include outdoor runs, pens, or enclosures to conduct a commercial business involving the buying, selling, breeding for sale, letting for hire, boarding or training of dogs, including animal shelters, but does not include a veterinary hospital or clinic. The existing kennel was not previously permitted. It has been in place for over 10 years. Once plans were made to renovate, a new application was required. So the main kennel is basically where they're doing most of their addition. So they're going to add on 5 adult pens with an indoor play space in the existing building, and then as well make nurseries, storage, and visiting space. And that will then, I think, eliminate the middle yard and the house for whelping and then other storage of supplies. The addition will allow the applicants to have 11 pens, storage, and visiting space in one central location rather than the current 10 pens in 3 different locations. A covered concrete pad will also be constructed to use as a bathroom area for the dogs. Large straw bales, 4x4x8s, will surround the enclosures to provide soundproofing. Dogs who tend to bark more will have access to run in a large indoor space within the main building. It will also contain a paddling pool. The location of the addition meets all setback requirements from property lines within the Ag District. The applicants do not reside in the yard site, but rather the 5-acre subdivision on the southwest corner of the quarter section. The surrounding properties are zoned agriculture. The parcel is accessed via Range Road 25-3. Setbacks from property lines are satisfied as well as from the neighboring properties. The applicant's water source is a well. Section 61 of the land use bylaw regarding kennel regulations are shown. So all those conditions, or all of those regulations are included in the regulations, or in the conditions, except for 6, we haven't dealt with, where it says all exterior exercise areas runs shall be sited behind the principal building, which they kind of are, and the principal building is right in the front, so there isn't any other choice. And then the last one where the Development Authority may regulate hours, we do address that in condition 8, you'll see later on. The applicant also provided the planning department with additional information, which is summarized below. No increase in traffic is expected. Any current noise from barking should be significantly reduced or eliminated upon completion of the proposed renovations. They don't expect an increase in demand in their water system or current sewage system. Waste is recycled, and bagged garbage is taken to the waste transfer site monthly. Dogs are fed a raw diet, which reduces waste. Manure in the outdoor runs automatically dries and crumbles. These pens are raked in the spring. Sheltered pens are scooped daily, and about 1 5-gallon pail of stool is collected in a week. The manure is scattered in the adjacent field, which is raked at least once a year as well. The applicants have indicated their project includes energy-efficient designs and a high level of animal husbandry. And they just say, when I asked them about people coming, they say their customers usually arrive on Saturdays or Sundays between 10 a.m. and 6 p.m. All other components of Section 61 have been addressed in the conditions, and this application was referred to internal and external agencies and adjacent property owners, and to date, no, we haven't received anything, and that's including the adjacent landowners. We never received any letters of concern, which I think is basically due as they've been there for at least 10 years, and we would have known if we would have had complaints.
Okay, thank you. I take it we have some pictures?
Yep. So they're just kind of southwest of Three Hills. So there's the applicants live in the subdivision on the southwest corner, but the kennel is in the middle there. This is the yard site. And so these pictures, when it came to doing our site visits, COVID-19 was already in place, and all our restrictions, and so she took the pictures for me. So the addition will be going right about, like, just on the edge of that building, and then to the west. This looks to the east where they are regularly dump their manure. And this will be where the location of the proposed concrete pad with a roof. This is behind the building. And that would be the front.
Okay, does the board have any questions for the planner? Obviously not. Okay, if we can go on to the options and recommendations.
All right, so the options are to approve it with conditions or postpone it. Administration is requesting approval of development permit application 3819-20-D with the following conditions. The permit is being issued subject to the provisions of section 61, kennel regulations in land use bylaw 1773. This permit is issued solely for the commercial kennel and additions. The development must conform to the site plan that was submitted with the application, signed and dated March 24th, as attached to this approval. The commercial kennel shall provide soundproofing pens, rooms, exercise runs, or holding stalls to the satisfaction of the Development Authority, section 61. The commercial kennel facility shall meet public health regulations and be kept in a manner satisfactory to the Health Regulatory Authority, section 60-2. The commercial kennel, including any outdoor runs or exercise areas, shall be located a minimum of 200 feet from any neighboring homes, section 60-3. The commercial kennel, including any outdoor runs or exercise areas, are required to be visually screened from existing dwellings on adjoining parcels to the satisfaction of the Development Authority, 60-4. All exterior exercise pens, runs shall be enclosed with a fence acceptable to the Development Authority with a minimum height of 6 feet. Any nuisance which may result from the use of this property and the activities contained within must be dealt with by the applicant. Nuisance may include but not be limited to sight, smell, sounds, or anything else may be considered detrimental to the enjoyment and quality of life for those surrounding landowners. All relevant safety code permits pertaining to building, private sewage, disposal system, gas, electrical, and plumbing must be applied for prior to any work being on site. The location of the proposed development must meet the minimum distance requirements for the existing private sewage system. The design, siting, external finish, and architectural appearance of the addition to the existing building shall be to the satisfaction of the Development Authority and must have a permanent foundation capable of supporting the maximum anticipated load of the kennel during all seasons without settlement or other movement. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with utility companies for provision of services and/or necessary easements. Kneehill County will not be responsible for dust control as per county policy. All future site development will require the appropriate development and safety code permits and approvals. Approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all other permits necessary. This permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or the date of an approved decision of the SDAB. Any intensification of use will render the subject permit null and void, and a new permit application and approval will be required. Failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void.
Thank you, Deanna. Are there any questions from the board, comments, concerns? I guess my only question would be, is there a maximum number of dogs that could be housed?
I didn't put it in there. I think because they're breeding, it's kind of in and out. They have quite a few litters a year, if I remember by looking on their website. So, and at labs, they tend to have large litters.
Thank you. What's the wishes of the board? Council member, commission member McGee.
Hello, through the chair, I would like to recommend the Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application 3819-20-D for a commercial kennel and an addition on the northwest 153125 west of 4 with the conditions listed.
Thank you. We have a motion to approve with conditions as listed. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Okay, we will now move on to 3822-20-D. Deanna, again?
Yep, then there's a get a break. This is an application from Roger Runnels and Renee French for a garden suite on a portion of the southwest of 2730-24, a 10.4 plus or minus acre parcel. A garden suite is allowed on any size parcel within the Ag District, and no more than one will be permitted on a lot. The applicants are aware that this structure will not be allowed to be subdivided in the future. The garden suite must be located within the yard site of the established primary residence. The applicants intend to purchase a mobile home for their elderly parents. If the mobile home is more than 20 years, it will have to be approved by MPC. The mobile home will be placed on the edge of the existing yard site, which means minimal agricultural land will be used. The applicants intend to tie into existing services. Their current septic system is a field, which may require an upgrade to accommodate the extra bedrooms. A new municipal address sign will be required for the garden suite. All safety code permits and approvals will need to be obtained. Setbacks to all property lines are satisfied as per section 86. The parcel is accessed via Township Road 30-4, which is commonly known as Linden East, and surrounding properties are zoned agriculture, and then there is a country residential directly west. This parcel is adjacent to the Linden North water service area. There is a riser in place for this parcel, however, is currently inactive. This application is not within an ESA or historically significant area, and the application was referred to internal and external agencies and adjacent property owners, and there were no comments received.
Questions? Okay, if not, then we have pictures.
It's directly east of Linden. There's the aerial, so they're gonna be putting the house that was basically the only place it fit to be able to still be kind of considered within the yard site. And it is for his elderly parents, so they really don't want them very far away. So that was kind of the best case scenario was there. And there it is in real life. And that's it.
Okay. Options and conditions.
Okay, your options are to either approve it or postpone it. Administration is recommending approval of development permit application 3822-20-D with the following conditions. This permit is being issued pursuant to section 57 of the Land Use Bylaw 1773. The development must conform to the site plan that was submitted with the application signed and dated March 24th as attached to this approval. This garden suite must remain on the lot with the primary residence and will not be considered for a separate subdivision. No further garden suites are allowed on this parcel. An auxiliary dwelling cannot be located on this parcel. All relevant safety code permits must be obtained prior to any work being performed on site. The applicants must ensure adequate water and wastewater services either through a shared or individual system. The garden suite shall be a standalone unit and shall not be attached to the primary residence. The floor area of the garden suite will be less than the primary residence on this parcel. The location of the proposed development must meet the minimum distance requirements from the existing private sewage system. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with the utility companies for provision of services and/or necessary easements. The design, siding, external finish, and architectural appearance of the garden suite shall be to the satisfaction of the development authority. The garden suite must have a permanent foundation capable of supporting the maximum anticipated load of the structure during all seasons without settlement or other movement in accordance with the Alberta Building Code. All future additions and developments, including but not limited to enclosed decks and porches, will require the appropriate development and safety code permits and approvals. Approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all other permits. This permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or the date of an approved decision of the SDAB, and failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions for the planner? What are the wishes of the board? Commission Member Vickery.
I will so move file number 3822-20-D for the garden suite for the recommendations that were placed in front of us.
All righty, we have a motion before us. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seems none, I will call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried unanimously. Alrighty, we will move on to 3824-20-D. Welcome, Brandy. Anytime you're ready.
All right, this is also for a garden suite. This is on the Southwest 17, 3024, Plan 091-0284, Block 1, Lot 1, and it is 10.03 acres. The garden suite is allowed on any size parcel within the agricultural district, and no more than one will be permitted on a lot. The applicants are aware of this, and the structure will not be allowed to be subdivided in the future. The garden suite must be located within the yard site of the established primary residence. The agents intend to purchase a new modular home for themselves. The applicants have been made aware that if the modular home is more than 20 years old, that it would need to be brought back for approval from the MPC. The modular home will be placed on the northeast edge of the existing yard site among other existing structures, leaving the current agricultural land that is currently hayed as is. The applicants intend to tie into the existing services for power and water. The applicants intend to install a new septic field specifically for the garden suite. A new municipal address will be required for the garden suite. All safety code permits and approvals will need to be obtained. Setbacks to the property lines are satisfied as per their application. The parcel is located at the intersection of Township 302 and Range Road 245. The applicants intend to access the garden suite via Range Road 245. The surrounding properties are zoned agriculture, and the property has a soil level of CLI 3. The parcel is adjacent to the Selkirk Water Service area. There is a riser in place for this parcel, however, it is currently inactive. The application is not within an environmentally or historically significant area, and the application was referred out to internal and external agencies, and there was no comments received to date.
Thanks, Brandy. Got pictures, I take it?
Yes. So here's the 10-acre parcel. On the left is the parcel as it sits today, and on the right is the site plan. So they intend to put their mobile home just tucked up in with the older buildings there. And this is a picture of the home that they are purchasing from the Triple M housing. And that's it for pictures. Due to COVID, we refrained from going out to certain areas.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for the planner? Oh, seems none, I guess.
Just
Oh,
for clarification, did you indicate that they're, you said they're going to access from 245? Does that mean they're coming in through the existing driveway, or they're planning to put a new driveway?
They're planning to put in an approach off 245.
Okay, so they're putting a new approach in. Okay, thanks.
All right.
all right, let's go on to options and recommendations.
That the Municipal Planning Commission approved development permit application 382420D for a garden suite on the subject lands with conditions. Or 4.2 is postpone the application pending further information. It is our recommendation that the Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application 382420D as per section 4.1 with the following conditions. The permit is being issued pursuant to section 57 of the Land Use Bylaw 1773. The development permit must conform to the site plan that was submitted with the application signed and dated, and that should say March 24th, 2020, as attached to this approval. This garden suite must remain on the lot with the primary residence and will not be considered for a separate subdivision. No further garden suites are allowed on this parcel. Number 4, an auxiliary dwelling cannot be located on this parcel. Number 5, all relevant safety code permits pertaining to the building, private sewage disposal system, gas, electrical, and plumbing must be applied for prior to any work being performed on site. Number 6, the applicants must ensure adequate water and wastewater services either through a shared or individual system. Number 7, the garden suite shall be a standalone unit and shall not be attached to the primary residence. The floor and area of the garden suite will be less than the primary residence on this parcel. Number 8, the location of the proposed development must meet the minimum distance requirements for the existing sewage set out in the Alberta Private Sewage Disposal Safety System Regulations and Safety Codes Act. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with the utility companies for provision and/or services, necessary easements, and ensuring all development is outside active utility right-of-ways. Number 10, the design, sitting, external finish, and architectural appearance of the garden suite shall be to the satisfaction of the development authority. The garden suite must have a permanent foundation capable of supporting the maximum anticipated load of the structure during all seasons without settlement or other movement in accordance with the Alberta Building Code. Number 11, all future additions and development, including not but limited to enclosed decks and porches, will require the appropriate development, safety codes, permits, and approvals. Number 12, approval by the approving authority does exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all their permits, as may be necessary under this or other legislation, bylaws, or regulations. Number 13, this permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or the date of an approved decision of the Subdivision and Development Appeal Board. If at this expiry of this period, the development or construction has not commenced or carried out with reasonable diligence, the permit shall be invalid. Number 14, failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void. And we will need to make an addition in number 15 that an approach inspection will be required and approval.
Thanks, Brandy. Does the board have any questions for the planning staff?
I just have a quick question for clarification.
Commission Member Penner.
When it comes to a second dwelling and this here, do we not have to put in here about steps and the skirting and screening?
That's part of the building code.
Okay. So under,
You're meaning the one that says it must be skirted within the 60 days?
yeah, just comparing both of them, sorry, just, why does it not state that in here? What is it covered under?
Mm-hmm.
Why would this one be different? Sorry, why would this one be different, is all I'm asking. So I guess, is it just under number 10, the design, siding, external finish, and architectural appearance of the garden suite shall be the satisfaction of the developing authority?
Yes. It does fall under the building code, even if it isn't specifically laid out. It is part of the building code, but we can put it in. You're talking about the one from,
The previous garden suite, they don't really know exactly what they're going, like, they think they're gonna purchase a mobile home, but they're not really sure. So that's why the conditions are a little bit more vague to allow them to make that decision.
so it's not in the one for, it's in for the Alan Gore, but it's not in for Renee French.
Correct, sorry, it's, yeah, so it's for the second residence over a garden suite, was this the two I was looking at, so.
Yeah, well, and regardless if, it does fall under the building code. Even if we do miss it, putting it in, it is part of the building code. So, and we could go back to them under number 10, regardless.
Yeah, I guess I had the same question as Deb did about, when we talked about the Gore one, for instance, it's a mobile home coming in, and there's 2 conditions, 8 and 9, that said they have to have it completely screened within the 60 days, and then in 9, it says they either be prefabricated, quality equivalent, steps, porches, patios, additions, skirting, storage, all that. So it's very specific about mobile home siting in that one, and then in the next two, which are potentially mobile homes, both garden suites, it's not referred to.
We can put them in. It is covered under the building code and number 10, but we can definitely put it in to ensure that it's not an issue.
And you're adding you said you're adding 15 about the approach inspection?
Yes.
Okay.
I guess it'd be a little different if they were putting it on a basement. Would that be a little different too?
Yeah.
Any other questions, concerns, comments?
One other question. Are they gonna tie to the existing well, or are they looking to use the riser?
They are undecided at this time.
Okay.
Okay, what's the wishes of the commission?
I guess we're requesting that the amendments specifically related to siting of a mobile home be placed in
Yeah,
this?
I've added that as number 16.
Okay,
Yeah, so we've got number 15 will be the approach. Condition number 16 is the skirting for the manufactured home within 60 days.
okay. All right, based on those amendments, I'd make the motion that Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application 3824-20D as per section 4.1 with the following conditions as amended.
Okay, thank you. Motion's been made. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? That is carried. We will now move on to 3826-20-D. Welcome back, Deanna. And anytime you're ready.
All right. This is an application for a variance for an existing barn on a portion of the northwest of 24, 32, 26 west of the 4th. The applicants are requesting a 22% front yard variance for their existing barn. A real property report disclosed the existing setbacks to be too close to the front property line. The front yard setback currently is 24.43 meters at the closest corner, which is the northeast, and the requirements is 30.5 meters. The applicants are selling the property and need a variance from the MPC so they may receive a stamp of compliancy. This property was developed in 2016 and includes a house and the accessory building in question. These buildings were permitted under development permit 3545-16A, revised. The only reason it says revised is the applicants changed the type of residence they were constructing, so that at that point the permit was noted as revised to reflect that change. The barn was also on that application, and so it was as a permitted use. The original application site indicated the barn would be set back 30.5 meters from the front yard property line. However, the real property report now indicates otherwise. The side setback is satisfied as per section 86. The accessory building would be considered a farm building, thus the exemption from the building code. The surrounding properties are zoned agriculture and are primarily cropland with some pasture/grassland. The property is accessed by Township Road 32-4. The real property report also notes a shelter that is too close to the side property line. However, this would be considered a movable building and can be noted as such on a compliance certificate. The municipal development plan and the land use bylaw do not provide direction to the maximum variance allowed. However, anything over 10% is referred to the MPC. This application was referred to internal and external agencies and adjacent property owners, and to date, nothing has been received. So this is just kind of southeast of Torrington. And here's the subdivision here's a photo of the subdivision, and then on the right is the barn that is in question. So the original development permit, it strictly said that they would be that 100 feet from the road. And then when the real property report came, it wasn't.
Does the Commission have any questions for the planner?
Oh, and there's,
Oh, more pictures, sorry.
that's just the barn, sorry. I hesitated.
Commission member King.
Okay, since the barn is considered a permanent structure and the shelter's not, we're not requesting that they move that shelter. That's affecting the side yard
No,
setbacks?
it'll be up to the new owners whether they want it moved or, no, we're not required, because it's movable, so. The land actually already has changed hands, so I guess it's up to lawyers how sticky things get. But it's a movable building, it's not really an issue,
It's not an issue from our point of view, is what you're saying?
that's right. Because we can note it on the compliance report that we do, that this building does not meet setbacks, however, it is movable. And that's typically what we say.
And I guess because it's not close to a road allowance, we're not as concerned. It's just on a property line, like a side
Yeah,
property
and it's
line.
not encroaching at all, like it doesn't cross into anybody else's property.
So what's the,
Just had one other question, I guess. What's our process to sort of protect ourselves against this kind of occurrence happening? We don't have any sort of follow-up when after they get their permits and start building, if they're encroaching, there's nothing that really would say we're gonna be out there to check to see that they're not.
No, but this is when they get caught, is when they go to sell their property and a real property report is done and the new buyers are requiring it, and then it's like, oh, it does not meet current setbacks.
And if we were being sticky, then it would mean either the barn gets moved or demolished.
I guess.
No,
Yeah,
it's
that's
hypothetical, right? Like,
Right. Too, I guess it'd be up to the new buyers, then they just wouldn't buy it, right? So then also, the old buyers then get stuck with a property that's very hard for them to sell because there's a building that doesn't meet setbacks.
Commission member Christie?
With it being a movable building, would it have had to have had a development permit before?
So are you talking about the barn or the shed?
Either one, if they're movable.
I don't know if you would consider the barn movable. The shed is movable, the barn, no.
In the past, we didn't need development permits for agricultural buildings. That was something just forward here in the last couple of years that we've started asking for development permits for agricultural type buildings. So this is likely that they built this building and didn't get a development permit.
It was on the permit though.
So how
But
close
yeah.
is it, how close is it to the road? Is it
Well,
20
it's-
Is that 25-meter thing? They gotta be 30 meters?
Yeah, well, they have to be, yeah, they're currently 24. Yeah. Yeah,
I mean, when you look at some of the older homesteads and farmyards around the municipality, there's a lot more buildings closer to the road than this one.
and it takes a long time to get those compliance reports done because we have to do so much digging and see how the previous land use bylaws, whether it fit or not.
But I mean, you look at our secondary highway system in Kneehill County, and there's several buildings that are way closer than this. And that's a secondary highway.
Those old ones too can be considered non-conforming within the MGA.
I guess, like I have really no objections to what we're talking about here, and I guess my question has more to do with the process. And, I mean, this was approved in 2016. And they got a development permit for the barn as well as the other buildings. And this is an acreage. Technically, it's not really a farm building as far as I'm concerned when it's sitting on an acreage. And permit required or not, if there's setbacks, there has to be something in our process that would allow us to monitor. So if someone's placing a building that's
Right.
too close, And I'll use it for instance, when I used to live in the town of Trochu, I had a neighbor who decided he was gonna build a house. And he looked at every other house on the block, and the setback was a certain distance, and they said, but your house, because the other houses don't meet that setback, you can be in line with the rest of the houses. Well, he was building a house with an attached garage, so he's gonna put his house front in line with the rest of the houses, and the garage was gonna stick out beyond that. So he would have been like 5 feet from the sidewalk. And I said to him, you can't do that. Oh, yes, I can, because they said my house can be in line. And I said, no, the front of your building can be, but not the rest. So if he'd have gone and dug his foundations and poured his foundations and started to build his house, the town would have come and said, start over.
Right.
Sucks to be you. And so I guess from my point of view, when we grant permits for someone to do something, is there not a way that we have somebody out there checking to see if they're actually observing the setbacks that they said they would, and when they submit their final yard plan or whatever, showing where the buildings actually ended up, we have no process that checks that? And, you know,
Well,
I'm
no,
not.
we don't. I mean, I think sometimes, oh,
If that's okay, if I comment. Right now, we don't have the resources to do that. It would actually be a surveyor that would have to go out and do a line for them so people know exactly where their property line is. That is the problem, is you can't see them. And so if you're not going off a post, it can be an issue. We usually tell people to err on the side of greater distance, but at this point, we have not required people to get a surveyor to pin where a building location needs to be, and we don't have the resources, nor would we be able to do that ourselves without some survey.
But just looking on the picture, they had lots of room to go back further away from the road without a problem at all. So why would you encroach on the road to begin with, is what Ken is saying.
Well, they're 100 feet from something.
Yeah,
I'm just not
that
sure
I-
what.
Yeah, that I can't answer exactly. They probably measured 100 feet, but weren't measuring it from the property line. In the old days, people used to measure from the center of the road, and that created a whole set of other problems because roads are not always down the middle of the right of way, but that's how the land use bylaws were written historically. So they would be 125 feet from the center of the road. We would tell people it would be 130 or 35 to err on the side of greater distance, but it can be a challenge with, and unless we want to institute getting a surveyor, it's going to be something that's a little more problematic.
Is that something that could be put on the application originally before they come in, and to make sure that that is one of the
they're already
checkpoints
aware.
that they have to really check on before any building takes place?
Any application goes out now, like, one, they have to mark it on their site plan, and then two, we also submit a form that shows what the setbacks are so that they meet. Even if a permitted use, we make sure that they're aware. So, I mean, we can only do so much. And I guess by driving by, I don't know if you would think, oh, that's too close to the road. You'd probably think, oh, they must be close. Yeah.
But I guess down the road, when you're selling this 5 or 10 years down the road, and now you've got this problem with two lawyers.
That's there.
I guess it's better to do it initially, even if it's gonna cost you a few extra dollars then than it is 10 years later with two lawyers arguing over a penny.
That's there.
Well, in this case, it could be a lot more than a penny. And, you know, really the reference is to the property line, not to the road.
No, that's entirely
Right.
right. I don't know whether they
That's right.
misunderstood or, but they wrote specifically on their plan 30.5 meters. So,
Barb, you had a comment?
Well, my comment was regarding, really the option is to make somebody survey that. And that is a pretty huge cost to get somebody to come out just to site a building. So again, we, on the front end, whenever we're meeting with anyone, we go through all of these things. And But there are properties where it would be very difficult to know where that property is.
Yeah, and I guess I recognize, Barb, the comments you're making and the other comments about the cost of actually finding a property line prior to building. However, if we were to refuse this variance, what's the cost to the people? And so, you know, if it cost me $1,000 up front to find my property line as opposed to costing me the sale of my property at this point in time because we got our dander up and said no, then the cost to the person is much higher than $1,000 at the beginning. And I guess, you know, my whole inquiry starts with what prevents this from happening in the future, and maybe we need to be looking at what we're doing in the planning side to say, how do we prevent something like this from happening, and what kind of safeguards or what kind of guidelines do we put in place that allows people to know when they're building a building that they're not going to have this problem going forward in the future. And really, that's what I'm trying to get at here, so.
Yeah.
So let's pretend that that road gets rebuilt and another 16 and a half feet is used up. Is that going to make a difference when it comes down to the next time it needs to be varied?
From my understanding, no.
And that would be an issue on every subdivision we have. Because we take road widening at that case, and typically you're gonna build from the current property line, which does not include that widening. So, yeah.
All right, so what is the wishes of the commission?
Do you want me to go through the options?
Sure.
So the options are to grant the front yard variance for the existing barn or postpone it. And then in my options there, I have 23%. Maybe due to lack of sleep, it should be 22% to match the condition. So anyways, my administration's recommendation is to approve development permit application 3826-20-D for a 22% front yard variance for the existing barn within a portion of the northwest of 243226, subject to the conditions as listed. The development must conform to the site plan that was submitted with the application, signed and dated March 24th, as attached to this approval. 2, the following variance is granted. A 22% variance for front yard setback to the barn is granted, which reduces the required 30.5 feet to 24.43, 80.15 feet. All relevant safety code permits pertaining to building private sewage must be applied for prior to any work being performed on site. The developer is responsible for making suitable arrangements with the utility companies for provision of services and/or necessary easements. All future site development will require the appropriate development and safety code permits and approvals. Approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all other permits. This permit is valid for a period of 1 year from the date of issue or the decision of an SDAB, and failure to comply with the conditions of this permit will render it null and void.
Thanks, Deanna. What's the
So
mission?
just
Wishes?
your point there, Jerry, was if they did come along to widen the road now, we've given the variance, would they allow us the extra 16 and a half feet to purchase from them?
Oh, they don't have a choice.
Okay.
And road widening's probably already been taken with, because this is a new subdivision.
Yes, it would have been taken, and with a variance, what you are granting is permission for that building to stay there for the life of that building.
Commission member,
If it burned,
go ahead,
if
Barb.
it burned down, they would have to move it. Like if they wanted to rebuild, we would have to ensure that it's located further back.
Well, they would have to come and get a new permit.
Exactly.
Commission Member McGee, you had a question.
Yes, I have a question, I think, for you, Barb. How complicated would it become if we, gave this variance but insisted that the movable building was moved?
It's probably just a shed that they can pull off.
Yeah, it would be on skids.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Debbie.
Commission Member Penner.
I think we've had a great discussion here on this, and just a learning thing, not necessarily just for this one, but for all of them. But I would recommend that Municipal Planning Commission approve development permit application 3826-20-D for a 22% front yard variance with the conditions listed.
Okay, thank you. We have a motion before us. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed? Motion defeated.
Just as a point of clarification, and for myself more than anything else, so if I was to decide to build a barn on my acreage, since it's considered an agricultural building, I don't need a permit?
No, you,
No, that was previously.
Okay, so now everything needs a permit.
Anything over 200 square feet
Correct.
needs a development.
Okay, all right, that's good, thank you.
And this was part of the reason why. We had buildings being built. We were trying to combat.
Since 2016.
Yes.
But not in 2016.
Commission Member Christie.
Question, we were talking to having a survey report to find out exactly where the boundaries are and stuff. In this day of technology, could we not give it like a GPS coordinate where that you can't go past that? Like my farm equipment's accurate within 1.5 inches, so would the GPS coordinate be something that we can look into down the road?
I don't know if our IT
Yeah.
will have that.
I mean, there's always that potential, but there's always a level of error within that though. So you do have to be accommodating depending on what kind of equipment you're using.
If it becomes a question, then you ask for the survey.
But I think usually most survey pins on most roads are visible somewhere along the half-mile line or the corner of an intersection. And you can roughly measure it in, roughly, and give yourself a variance of 10% either way, just to line things up, and then away you go. Because there's survey pins all over the county.
I guess, my whole conversation that I started here was, I think we need to look at an adjustment in our process that would prevent this from happening in the future. And if it means we have to ask for survey, because there's no other way of determining where that property line is, then maybe that becomes a requirement of the development permit that they get, that they have to survey the property line, and they have to be back minimum that distance setback. And all the road widening and everything else that goes into that, forget about that, but at least when they start out, they are the minimum distance back, and they're assured of that, because now these people have a problem. And the problem's not of our making, and it's not our responsibility, but for me, if this was my property, $1,000 spent way back in 2016 would save me a pile of grief today.
Alrighty, let's move on to number 7, KNE 200134. Welcome, Brandy, whenever you're ready.
All right, we're moving on to subdivisions. This is for the Southwest 133025, Lot 3, Block 3, Plan 1912294. The application is from Terra Piling, and the agent is Abe Friesen. They would like to create a 2.5 acre parcel from the portion within Southeast 133025, Lot 3, Block 3, Plan 1912294. The parcel is a bare parcel subdivision and meets the allowable acre size. The surrounding lands are primarily agriculture and cropland. The applicant would like to split the parcel in half to allow for their business to be on one parcel and a residence on the other. It's currently a 5-acre parcel that you saw last year. The proposed subdivision is adjacent to the Sunny Slope water line. A previous water modeling application has indicated that there is not enough water pressure on this portion of the line to allow for further riser to be installed in this area. Council is currently reviewing the options for this specific part of the line. Therefore, the water modeling and the riser may not be an option at this time for this specific subdivision file. If council approves an option that will increase the water volume to the water service area, then the applicant will be required to take a riser for each parcel, which would be 2 risers. As this is not the first parcel out of the quarter section, municipal reserves would be required for the new 2.5-acre parcel. The land for the new parcel and has a soil classification of CLI 5. Range Road 251, which is gravel, fragments the subject lands from the balance of the quarter and is primarily accessed off all parcels. Approach inspections have actually already been completed, and a shared approach is going to have to be done because of the curve in the road, which you will see from the photos. Road widening was taken along the south and west boundary of the existing road that divides the quarter previously, and this application was referred out to internal and external agencies as well as adjacent landowners, and no comments were received.
Thanks, Brandy. Pictures?
Sure do. So as you can see from the curve in the road, the existing subdivision will just become a shared approach. This is what the picture on the right was, what was referred out to adjacent landowners and agencies. When Cecil went out to take a look, he returned it with a drawing, and this is what the final subdivision will likely look like. The existing approach will be widened, and there'll be a little panhandle to access the other part. These are the subdivision pictures, obviously, from previously in 2019. Pretty flat, developable area, and that is it for pictures.
Okay, does the board have any questions for the planner?
So when we originally approved this, we said that if we changed the water line in the future, that they would have to take a riser, correct?
Yes.
And so now we're saying, because they're splitting it, they'd take 2 risers.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, and that is a condition in here.
Yeah, I heard you read that.
So, depending on what council decides to do, it will affect this.
That's the water loop we're talking about, right?
Yeah. Any other questions for the planning staff? Okay, I guess options and recommendations.
The options are 4.1, that the Municipal Planning Commission approve KNE 200134 as submitted with conditions. 4.2 is postpone the application pending further information. It is our recommendation that the subdivision application KNE 200134 be approved subject to section 4.1 with the following conditions. The subdivision must be registered in accordance with the tentative plan submitted by way suitable to Alberta Land Titles in accordance with the Land Titles Act. Number 2, all outstanding taxes on the land involved are to be paid in full to the municipality prior to the subdivision being endorsed. Access is to be provided to the approved subdivided parcel and remnant parcel. Confirmation of compliance is required for all existing proposed accesses, which must be located and constructed in accordance with Kneehill County Approach Construction Guidelines Policy 1315 and amendments thereto. Number 4 is for the water risers. As per Kneehill County policy, the proposed subdivision is considered to be adjacent to a county water line. Dependent on the proposed council options specific to the water line in this water service area, the landowner applicant may be required to apply and pay a fee for a water modeling study to determine the capacity and ability of the water line to service the subdivision. If the results of the water modeling indicate that the subdivision can be serviced by the water line, the landowner applicant shall be required to take a riser at the fee set out in the master rates bylaw. Number 5, concurrent registration of utility easements, right-of-ways, and/or crossing agreements as required by service providers. Number 6, all services are to be provided to the landowner at their expense and must conform to the utility provider conditions. Number 7, each developed parcel must be served by its own water source and private sewage treatment system. Number 8, all future site development will require the appropriate development safety codes permits. Number 9, the county will not be responsible for dust control as per county policy. If it becomes an issue, the responsibility to pay for dust control would fall to the entitled landowner. Number 10, approval by the approving authority does not exclude the need and/or requirements of the applicants to obtain any and all permits as may be necessary under this or other legislation, bylaws, or regulations. And number 11, as per section 661, 666, and 667 of the Municipal Government Act, the applicant must provide 10% of municipal reserves and/or school reserves to be taken in cash in lieu or dedication of land. Based on the CLI level, the average per acre value amounts to $1,888.28. 10% of the final proposed subdivision approximately will be $472.00. The final amount owing will be calculated upon receipt of the final survey plan.
Thanks, Brandy. Any questions for the planner?
Can I ask one more?
Commission Member King.
So when we're calculating the municipal reserve amount, that's based on property assessment value, acreage value?
It depends on how they're assessed. If it's full residential, then we go off the residential assessment. If it is got a portion of ag on it, then we use the CLI value. And this one is ag, therefore we use the CLI value.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? I guess I have one for you, Brandy.
Sure.
It'll be number 4, condition number 4.
Yep.
That is specific to this subdivision that we are looking at right now. Is there also one for the balance of that subdivision as
So
far as water
this,
riser goes?
Barb and I did discuss this when I was writing this report. It was one of my questions. And because we're specifically dealing with this subdivision alone, this is the only one that we can force
Okay,
the two on.
okay, thank you. I kind of suspected that, but
Yeah, but great to clarify.
what's the commission's wishes here? Commission Member King.
Okay, I'd make the motion that the Municipal Planning Commission approve KNE 200134 as submitted with the conditions as listed. And is the Cecil's adjustment in the driveway part of what would be considered the conditions of this development permit?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the plan that's actually going to get stamped, not the one that was referred out.
Okay, so there doesn't require an amendment then?
No, and they were made aware of that when we first met with them, that the likelihood they were gonna get a second approach wasn't happening, and he knew that just because of the curve in the road.
Okay,
So he was fully anticipating to have to do the panhandle.
okay, as listed then.
Okay, we have a motion to accept with the recommendations as presented. Is there any discussion to that motion? Seeing none, I'll call the question. All those in favor? And that is carried. Anybody want a break? Let's recess for a bit. 5 minutes, 7 minutes.
Hey, Barb. Wake up. I'm
Sorry.